Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you've ever stared at a German sentence and just felt completely lost, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to crack the code on one of the most common puzzles in the language, the zu plus infinitive. Let's jump right in.
Does this look familiar? I bet it does. You're reading along, everything's going great, and then bam, you hit this huge piled up of verbs at the end of the sentence. It can feel so confusing, right? But honestly, there's a really simple logic to it. And by the end of this, you're going to see it too.
Okay, take a look at this monster of a sentence. This is exactly what we're talking about. It looks super complex, but this is actually our puzzle for today. And I promise, once we're done, you'll be able to look at a sentence just like this one and know exactly what is going on. So what's the secret? It's this little guy right here. The zu plus infinitive. Now, first things first, this isn't the zu that means to a place, like you're going to the store. No, you gotta think of this to as like grammatical glue. It's just like in English when we say, I like to swim. The to there isn't about direction, it's just connecting like with swim. That's all to is doing here. It's the key that connects the whole sentence together. Okay, so the big question is, when do you actually use this to glue? Well, thankfully, it's not random. There are specific triggers, certain words and phrases that basically scream at you, hey, you need a zu plus infinitive here. So let's break down what those are. First up, we've got certain nouns, and they almost always show up with the verb haben, which you know means to have. So whenever you're talking about having the desire, Lust, or having the time, Zeit, or even having the fear, Angst, to do something, that's your trigger. Look at the example. Hast du Lust, ins Kino zu gehen? Do you have the desire to go to the cinema? You see? The zu gehen connects the second action. Without that zu, the sentence it doesn't work. It's the essential link. All right, next on our list is a whole bunch of verbs that act as triggers. You know, verbs that talk about an intention, like planen, to plan, or an attempt, like versuchen, to try, or a hope, like hoffen, to hope. Anytime you use one of these to talk about a second action, that action has to start with zu. So, for example, wir planen die Prüfung zu machen. We plan, what do we plan? We plan to do the exam. That to is doing all the work connecting those two ideas. And our third and final trigger type has to do with adjectives. This usually shows up in phrases like es ist, it is. So when you describe an action as being easy, leicht, or important, wichtig, or tiring, anstrengend, you gotta use zu to link that description to the action itself. Look here, es ist anstrengend, so früh aufzustehen. It is tiring to get up so early. That little word zu is what's connecting the feeling of tiring to the specific action of getting up. Make sense, right? Okay, so we know when to use it, that's half the battle. But the other half, which is just as important, is where does this little word go? This is where a lot of people get tripped up, but I'm telling you, the rules are actually super straightforward. Let's get into it. For most verbs, it couldn't be easier. The zu just pops right in front of the infinitive, just like to in English. So you get zu lernen, zu machen, zu gehen. Simple. Now, what if you have two verbs at the end, one of those double infinitives, maybe with a modal verb? No problem. The zu just slips in right before the first of those two verbs. For example, you might say something like, Ich versuche, das Buch lesen zu können. I'm trying to be able to read the book. See? The zu comes right before können. But now for the classic German curveball. What happens with those tricky separable prefix verbs? You know the ones I'm talking about, like anrufen for to call, or einkaufen for to shop. Where in the world does the zu go then? This is the one that gets everybody. So here is the secret, and it's kind of weird, but it works. Your first instinct might be to just stick the zu out in front, right? Zu anrufen. Well, nope, that's wrong. The correct way, believe it or not, is to actually crack the verb open and stick the zu right inside of it. And to make this super easy to remember, we're going to call it the zu sandwich rule. It's that simple. When you have a separable prefix, you just make a sandwich. You put the zu right between the prefix and the main part of the verb. So it becomes anzurufen, einzukaufen, fernzusehen. Once you get this little trick down, you are going to sound so much more natural. All right, deep breath. We've gone over the when and the where. Now let's boil all of this down into one final, super simple cheat sheet that you can use anytime you're not sure what to do. And here it is. It really just comes down to these three things.
Step 1, be on the lookout for those trigger words, the nouns like lust and sight, the verbs like planen, and the adjectives like wichtig. Step 2, for any regular old verb, the zu goes right out front. And step 3, if you've got a separable verb, don't forget to make a zu sandwich. That's it. That's the whole game.
So the puzzle is solved. The code is officially cracked. That big, scary sentence we saw at the beginning, it's really just a series of simple logical connections. So here's my challenge to you. How many zu sentences can you find out in the wild today? Or even better, how many can you try to make yourself? Go out there and give it a shot.